Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spotlight On here on AfterBuzz TV, where we interview some of Hollywood's hottest talents. Today, I am thrilled and honored to let you know that I will be interviewing the unbelievably talented vocalist Sam Tsui, so don't move a muscle.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Yes.
Nice.
I want to listen for like 10 seconds
Okay.
before we start this interview. It's a nice hook, man.
Thank you.
It's a great... Did you write this all yourself?
I did.
Okay.
I did, yes.
This is, of course, off your new album, Trust, which
The
just...
title track,
It
yes.
just released, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Fresh,
great.
hot off the presses.
Nice. Well, I'm a big fan of both this song and of you, Sam, and I'm thrilled to
you.
have you here today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Good. It's going to be
Chat.
fun. It's nice. I was telling Sam before we went live, I'm a huge acapella nerd, big YouTube vocalist fan, so this is a good zone for me as an interviewer.
That means you're my kind of person.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're a special tribe. We're a very special tribe.
That is for sure.
But before we get into it, guys, my name is Jeff. If you want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey Seagram. But more importantly, I, of course, have Sam Tsui here.
Hello.
Sam, please let the fans know the best place to reach you online if they want to connect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all the socials. I'm on
Yes.
Instagram at the Sam Tsui, of course, YouTube. That's where all my content lives there. Just search Sam Tsui and you'll find me. Twitter, Samuel Tsui.
Great.
Facebook, find me. I'm everywhere.
Perfect. I was going to say social media has been an essential part of your
boy.
ascent as a talent, so you're not too hard to find online,
Right,
which is good.
right. Track me down.
So I really like this song. We're going to talk
you.
more about Trust as we get into the interview, but I was saying before we went live, it has some MJ vibes.
That is high praise.
Yeah.
And definitely was one of the intentions. So
Cool.
I'm glad you got that.
Little The Weeknd, a little bit?
Totally.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole like throwback synth driving moody thing is like I'm loving that. And so
Yeah.
a lot of the album is sort of infused with that.
Do you feel like it's
Sauce.
sort of a more mature approach to what you've been doing, or?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I co-produced Trust with the amazing Peter Thomas, and I produced over half the album like totally myself, which was like very scary and crazy. But yeah. So a lot of the writing, I mean, the writing is still on me, but a lot of the sort of production stuff I wanted to take in a slightly just newer, fresher, more experimental place than what fans are used to from me. So that was sort of the goal.
It's good though. From what I'm hearing, I do think you still have the essence of you, which is just,
Yeah.
I think, really well-written pop and
Thank you.
accessible in the best way.
Thank you.
But I do feel like there's a sense of development as an artist, which is really exciting for us.
That's what I love to hear.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Write that down. Okay, well, we're going to talk more about Trust in a little
Yeah.
bit, but this is a long-form interview, and I feel so excited to pick your brain. So
Oh, gosh.
let's go through it. I want to start with sort of growing up. So first of all, you grew up like a street from Kurt, which I never
Yes.
realized.
Oh yeah, we
For
go
fans,
way back.
I'm talking about Kurt Schneider, who of course is one of your most important collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
Did you and Kurt, were you guys like musical collaborators right from the start, or were you friends?
So
or...
we lived right down the street from one another, and we both did, chorus and the musical. So in that regard, yeah, our initial interaction was in kind of like a performative musical situation. And because we lived so close, and we took the same bus in like middle school, and then when we were, staying after school to do choir or the musical practice, it was only natural that we like drove each other home and, shared rides and stuff. So we became friends that way.
Cool.
And then once we got to college, we both, we were friends in high school, but then both independently. I was a year behind him. We both went to Yale, and that was sort of where we started doing sort of the more pop production stuff. But it was definitely rooted in the fact that we were like the only two kids at Yale from our high school,
Yeah.
so we were naturally,
That
gravitated
happens.
toward one another.
It's interesting how that happens because if you end up at a college as selective as Yale, if there's only a few grads from your school who went
Totally.
there, it's an easy, quick way to reconnect with someone who you might not have.
For sure.
Was Kurt doing a cappella by the time you had gotten, or did Kurt do a cappella?
He did 1 year of acapella.
Okay.
He was in a group called Out of the Blue.
Yes.
And then he left the group to pursue he was like a crazy busy guy. So
Yes.
he got more into the production and video stuff. his second year. But
Great.
we both share that love of
Good.
good a cappella music for sure.
Good, guys. I'm an acapella guy myself, I gotta say, and we'll get in more into your college experience. But I do want to talk a bit about just the home you grew up in, because when I meet people as unbelievably talented as you,
Stop.
so I do want to hear about. Was it a musical household? Do you have a musical family?
Definitely. My mom was a high school music teacher, actually.
Okay.
She was retired by the time I was born. But we there was music everywhere. We were going to, Broadway shows. There was a piano. My dad is not a musician, although he's killer at karaoke,
Nice.
as all Asian fathers are.
I was gonna say, without being
Yes.
stereotypical, I do know karaoke is a
Oh, yeah.
essential part of the Asian
Yeah.
experience.
But yeah, his whole family's really musical. His mom did like Chinese opera.
Oh, wow.
So on both sides, there's a love of music and an appreciation of music. So definitely that was at the core of
Okay.
my initial spark and love.
I love that.
Yeah.
Was your mom a vocal music teacher or like
She was
instrumental?
like she was like a bit of a hippie. She was like a music appreciation like high school teacher in
Okay.
Iowa. So I think she like in like the 70s. I think she was like lighting incense and making me listen to Ravi Shankar. It was
Hopefully
you know what
only
I mean?
incense.
Yeah. I don't know what else. But yes, she kind of did it all. And so yes, definitely a lot
That's
of that
so
early
great
love
to
of
hear,
music
though,
came.
because I think music appreciation classes can be kind of a drag.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Because I think especially some of the students who are taking them, it might be a bit of a checkbox.
Yeah, for
on
sure.
So it's so nice to hear that someone who's really passionate about music was actually teaching those
Yeah,
classes.
of course. And I mean, like, regardless of whether you end up becoming a musician, I mean, no one does not interact with music in some way in their lives. And so, like, a baseline understanding and appreciation of music, I think, is important for everyone. You know?
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Okay, cool. So that's nice to hear that music was at least nurtured in your
Yes,
home. Is your
definitely.
family pretty stoked to see that
Yeah.
you've made...
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, from little, I always said this is what I want to do, as a lot of people do, and it's hard.
Yeah.
So I think just the fact that they're seeing me live out exactly sort of what I set out to do, in one way or another, that's any parent's greatest dream. I think.
Absolutely. Well, you have siblings too, right?
I do. I have a brother.
Okay.
But he's 20 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
It's
Okay.
an interesting, yeah. But he's also very artistic. Very, he majored in production design for theater.
Oh, cool.
So and now he's like a contractor and like works with his hands. So that's very different from me. But yeah, we're all very artistic in our own ways.
That's nice. It's so great to see people who are able to not only pursue their passions, personally, but also professionally. It's just so
I just feel so
inspirational.
lucky.
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's deserved, obviously, but we feel lucky too, that we have access just to your voice. I think you do have a very distinctively...
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. Well, let's go ahead and talk about college because, as you were mentioning, you went to Yale. So did Kurt. I have to talk about a cappella.
Of course.
If you're interviewing with me and I have the chance to talk a cappella, we're going to talk about it. The Yale a cappella community is like very...
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
It's the home birthplace of collegiate a cappella. The Whiff and Poofs.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. That's the OG collegiate a cappella group.
They really are.
And so for that reason, the community, there's like 16 groups at
so
Yale.
wild.
It's a really like embedded into the college culture in a way that it, just because there's such a legacy of it. So it's just a social hub. It's which is really cool. For a music nerd like me to go to a school where the a cappella groups are actually, like a lot of them have houses like frats and are really like social centers. Like
Right.
that's every music nerd's dream.
You can kind of recreate the experience of pledging Greek, for example, in a college a cappella
But you
group.
get to sing,
Yeah.
so it's a win-win.
Why do you think? So you mentioned the Whip and Poofs. It's funny. I went to a school in Ohio, but we did a lot of touring like in Michigan. And
Yeah.
U of M also has like a really
For sure.
like thriving a cappella community. What do you think it is? You mentioned the Whip and Poofs, but what else about Yale? Why do you think a cappella is so popular there?
It's a great of the Ivy League schools. I mean, I don't want to do a pitch for Yale, but I was a tour guide at Yale.
Do it,
I think it's
please.
one of the best Ivies for the arts in general. I mean, obviously, I didn't even major in music. I majored in classical Greek, but for all of the extracurricular art stuff, it's like amazing. And you have the drama school right there, and you have the School of Music, and they're all incredible. So I think it's just a very artistic campus. And I think that combined with the fact that there's just that history there means it's just written into kind of the narrative of Yale, and it's awesome.
Classical Greek, huh? Where did that start?
I was not only a music nerd, but like a nerd too. And I always just loved ancient history, and Yale has a great program for that. And I knew I wanted to pursue music, but I was like, if I'm here at Yale, let me just major in something that I can only learn about here, and then keep that in a little shelf in my mind. And
I love it. So that would just be like classic Greek lit, right? Like not language.
Oh, no, language. Yeah. So the first
dang.
like year, you basically learn to read classical Greek, and then from that point on, it's kind of like it's an awesome humanities major, because then you're just like reading poetry and history and drama and philosophy, but you're just reading it in the original Greek and Latin too. So it's
You're reading Sophocles in Greek.
yeah, but I haven't busted out my Greek in a while. It's gotten pretty rusty.
So you
in one
kind
year
of
out the
did go
other.
Greek at Yale,
I
technically.
did.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Well, that's good. We have to shout out our founder is Maria Menounos, who's a very famous media personality, and she's very proud of her Greek heritage.
Yeah.
So she would be flattered. Okay, so just for our listeners, Iliad or Odyssey, and why?
Oh, I think the Iliad. There's just the poetry is beautiful in both, but I feel like there's more interesting characters. The Odyssey is like a little easier to jump into because it's kind of like this like swashbuckling adventure.
Gotcha.
But the Iliad is just there's drama and there's family and there's war and strife. I love it.
It's like there's like the lit version, then like the more accessible version.
Totally,
Okay,
totally.
Cool, I get that.
But I can recite the first like 50 lines of the Odyssey in the original Greek. That's my
Can we hear
party
like
trick.
4 lines?
Yeah, it's like Antra mo enepe musa polytropon hosmalapola plankte ipetro esieron taletron persin polandantroponi denas de kaino anegno polaragen panto paten alge hon katetim.
Dang, that is unbelievably impressive.
Yeah, right. There's
understood
not many
every
ways
word
I
of
can
it.
use that in my life, but I'm glad you appreciate
Oh,
it.
it's made my day. Okay,
Some
that's-
professors listening somewhere and being like, the pronunciation was wrong.
Yeah, that's Homer, right? Homer's rolling
Yeah.
in his grave
Yes,
right now.
yes.
Sam. Well, that's really cool. I get nostalgic for college, so it's kind of fun for me to talk about it. But what's most amazing is your journey into really working as a vocalist outside of college began in college. And
Yeah.
what I was so kind of shocked to learn was that some of your major media appearances happened even before you launched your own YouTube. So I was reading ABC World News, Bonnie Hunt, Oprah. How did all of these come about, even sort of preceding your venture into YouTube?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky to have started on this journey when I did, because I got to see this whole landscape of digital media and music in particular really evolve and become this amazing space that it is now. So yeah, when we started uploading videos from our college dorm, literally, there weren't many people making high quality content for YouTube, for the internet.
Right.
And so it had a sort of novel feel to it, and that's why I think in those early days when we had our Michael Jackson medley that went really viral, and our Don't Stop Believin' cover that went really viral, there was something really new about it, and so I think that's where a lot of those media appearances came from. Oprah and Ellen and all these things. It was like, who are these people who are making great music on YouTube, which
Right.
prior to that, people had associated with home videos and cat videos and, like kind of sillier, more sort of home video stuff. And so in those early days, I think that was just the narrative. It was like, whoa, these
Right.
people making great music for this platform specifically. And now, of course, it's like really come into its own, and it's a totally different landscape.
But you guys were kind of the pioneers, and I'd be curious to talk about, was there strategy behind the way you guys were producing? Like, because what's interesting about being like a viral, and I know that word is kind of like,
Of course.
tired, but being like just a YouTube artist, I would say you're more than just a musician. You know, there's production components that go into it, both vocally and from a video perspective.
For sure.
Can you talk about, and this would be you and Kurt, sort
Yeah.
of the decisions you guys are making and sort of your strategy to compete in a world where everyone's uploading content all the time?
Yeah, I mean, again, we were lucky. My brain keeps like bouncing on the table.
It's all right.
In those early days, there weren't as many people, so we did have a little more, both kind of in a scary way and a positive way. There just was less precedent, so there was kind of what kind of content do you want to upload? What's going to work? What are people? And so there was a lot of learning involved in those early days of best practices, and that's kind of how we became friends with a lot of the other sort of early adopters of YouTube, because you sort of relied on each other as colleagues to figure out like, when are you uploading, and does that work better, or what kind of this or that. And so yeah, I think when we first started uploading, it was definitely for fun, and it was just, this is a new fun platform. Then as we saw there was a real power to, getting a voice on this platform and sort of staking out your claim. Then we were maybe a little more strategic in that we were like, okay, like what are popular songs that we can sort of reinterpret so that maybe new fans can discover us from that. And then you start to think of it a little more like a marketing person and a business person. And then I think as time has progressed, it's about finding the balance now. It's like you can't just try to be viral all the time because as an artist that would like totally kill you and cripple your soul. And so I think it's throughout the journey there have been definitely different phases of like, okay, now we're just going to try to get something that a lot of people are going to love and see versus something like Trust, this album. It's like I want to make something that like I love and is beautiful and the fans are going to appreciate. So there's always, as with any kind of artistry, there's different modes, I think. Did that answer the question? I don't even know.
I think you nailed the question. Yeah,
I tend to like blah, blah, blah.
No,
Feel free to
it's
cut me
good.
off.
If there's ever a space where it's safe to blah, 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 it is a long-form podcast, Sam. You're in a safe place.
Okay.
That's really, really cool. And it is really interesting because it must have felt like kind of a radical time because new media was really becoming what it was during
It was the
that
Wild
time.
West, which again was both amazing and really like crazy because there was just no one you could turn to for like how what is the best way to do this. It was kind of, my first album was called Make It Up for that reason. It was kind of the theme was like stumbling your way through something and kind of the beauty and terror of that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I do want to talk about one thing I love that you and your collaborators do is obviously beautifully reinterpret pop music. As I mentioned, I don't know if I said it already, I'm an a cappella fan.
Yes.
And I am an arranger as well. So I do love that
Awesome.
stuff. I'm like, like a vocal theory nerd as well.
Of course, gotta be.
What do you think are the components that make a great arrangement?
Yeah. This was, I'm so embarrassed that I did a couple arrangements in college, and those were some of my first like straight up a cappella vocal arrangements. And my group, the Dukesmen, I went back when we were back on campus this last year, and they're still like performing some of them. And now I'm like, no, because I've gotten so much better as an arranger, and I'm like, no, stop. This is like a moment in time that like did not need to persist.
You can feel yourself copying and pasting in finale.
And
like...
and it was too. I think early on it was like when I first started arranging. And I think especially in an environment like collegiate acapella where everyone is acapella nerds and everyone is like, you try to throw in as much cool stuff as you can. And so like the arrangement is like doo-da-da, like polyrhythms and crazy things going on. And I think one of the things I've learned as I've matured is that like sometimes simplicity and just like strong choices done in like very thoughtful ways are great. So I think that's one thing is that like, like strong choices, a few strong choices done really well in an arrangement are like great. I'm a big sucker for like some smart reharmonizations, especially with modern pop music, which I love. I'm the biggest pop fan ever, but it's very simple chordally. So I'm always, whenever I'm listening to an arrangement, even again, it doesn't have to be fully reharmed, but when there's just a little change that's like a little different, I'm like, ooh. So I love that. Yeah, and just singability too is something that I think comes with time and practice. When you're sitting in Sibelius or Finale or whatever, and you're just like doing little black dots, can be very different from then actually getting a group together or whatever to sing these lines. And some of my favorite arrangements are the ones that everyone's part is like super feels good to sing.
That's a good point. Yeah, trying to create satisfying vocals in each line.
Yeah, so the baritone's not just like dude,
Yeah, I think that's the sign of a great arrangement is when you could pull any part and still enjoy the melodic components.
Yeah, I think so.
So I like that sort of the idea of rather than making a bunch of choices, focus on 2 or 3 big choices and really make those the staple of the decisions you're making.
I think so. That has the most impact. I think that as for a listener, especially for a listener who's not super technical, which most people are not going to be. Most people are not going to care that you just did some weird crazy thing. But if there's something that's like distinct enough that whether or not you know exactly what's going on musically is like makes you feel something, that's gonna be more impactful.
Like a nice reharm can do that because even fans who don't know the theory of what's happening, their ear will notice
of course,
that something's new. So do you feel like you take that strategy in your own arrangements? Of maintain the essence of what the song was, but really make some choices to make it yours?
Yeah, no, and I think that one of the reasons that I kind of learned that lesson is at certain points on YouTube, I was producing a lot of content, and and that's sort of the idea behind a certain model of digital music is like you just keep putting out stuff, and it's a great way to learn as an arranger and a producer. But it also sort of taught me that like simplifying is good, and simplifying is good not only for expediency of making more stuff, but that actually it had the added benefit of like, I think, just reduced down the choices, the musical choices you make, into just the most important. What is going to give this the most impact, and what are the changes I can make to this song that are going to make it my own and make people fall in love with it, rather than like getting in and just getting too kind of like narrow focus.
Right. Cool. So I would love to hear a bit about your process, sort of from conception of idea through production to video to hitting done, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it varies a lot from project to project.
Right.
Obviously, with a cover or mashup, it's like part one is just generally staying abreast of like, what are the new songs, like what, and always sort of keeping a tab on, you know, what mashups could be cool, what different ideas could be cool. And then of course, obviously with an original, I just have like a stash of like a million little voice memos that I'm just, you know, waiting to turn into songs. But as you said, like I have had to, and I'm so grateful that I've had to learn to do a lot of it myself. Produce and obviously arrange and
direct.
Yeah, and then exactly. And then when the track is finished first before the video, and then yeah, you have to really know what you're doing on all front. You have to conceive the video. You have to, if you're not getting a director, oftentimes you do have to direct it yourself. I'm usually still editing all of my own videos. So really, I mean, and I think that's what fans in general of this sort of new wave of independent digital music, what they love is that the creator or the artist, you really see their, you know, fingerprint on every single part of the product, the end product that you're seeing, which I think makes for a more connected and genuine like listener artist experience, which is awesome.
Absolutely. I think speaking of that, I would love to watch a little bit of your video, Trust. Ooh. Marissa, if you want to get that pulled up in the booth. I think the vocals come in right around like 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Let's start right around 40 seconds,
Ooh.
Marissa, if that works. We're getting it pulled up for you listeners, and let's just watch it a little bit.
Ooh.
I do love these synths.
Thank you.
80s is kind of back in right now, isn't it?
Oh, I'm all about it.
I'm here for it.
I watch you moving across the room, and what you doing, who you talking to.
Did you direct this?
No, I did not, but I co-conceived it with this amazing director who's done a bunch of the new stuff for the album.
I do like the way it's shot.
Thank you. I did edit it though.
Did you?
Yeah, I co-edited it with them. Yeah,
it's a great pre-chorus.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will put my faith in you. No one's asking for their freedom. We just need a little trust. Yeah, it starts with good
Cool. I love it. Let's talk about this video.
Yes.
So who did direct this?
This guy, Jade Eller, is a good friend of mine, who also directed the music video for Cameo, which was the first single off the album, and the next single that's coming out too. And he's amazing and brilliant. And what I love about him, and with all the sort of people that I, you know, find to be creative partners, is that it's super collaborative, and he really gets that. I'm going to be that annoying guy who doesn't want to just sit back and be like, do it. I'm on the shoot. I'm like, wait, but did we get that? Like, make sure we get that, because I know when we're going to want to cut to, you know, I'm probably the worst in that regard. And I feel like a lot of people who come up in this way are, because you're just so used to doing it all yourself.
Right.
And, you obviously, it's great to inject your product with the creative vision of other people. That's important too. But yeah, so he's a dream to work with, and allows me.
I get that though, because
idiosyncrasies.
as a collaborator, you have to find people that really vibe with you.
Totally.
Especially if you're opinionated, because I've done some stuff and it's good. You know what? You want to be working with a producer who has strong opinions, because
course.
nothing's worse than being on set and, like, I direct some, and working with talent who doesn't really know what they want, because the director does have to make choices, but you also want talent to make choices too.
Right.
And it has to be a marriage of the two.
Right. And I think the worst is like talent who is really opinionated but doesn't know. And that's why I'm so glad that I've, through doing YouTube, have been forced to learn the technical side of shooting, of editing, of coloring, of all this stuff, because I would imagine for any creative person, the worst thing is when someone's like, I don't like it. I want it to be different, you know, but can't be like, oh, can we like reduce the f-stop to get a shallower depth of field, whatever.
That note of like, can you make it a little, just like zhuzh it?
And so I'm really grateful as an artist that I can go into both like music production stuff and video stuff and have the like vocabulary. It's so much more empowering to be able to be like, this is what I don't like about this is what I want different, or I love this, and I think that ultimately makes for like better product at the end because it's just clearer.
So one question I have is like, obviously you're a vocalist first, like that is your gift among others. But I was telling you before we went live, I've done some professional vocal singing, not nearly to the extent that you did, but somehow me and 3 others tricked an agent into hiring us as an a cappella quartet on a cruise ship.
I love that.
It was
Oh my
very, very fun. Have you
God.
done any cruise ship singing?
I have not.
It's pretty fun.
I can imagine, and that's really fun. I mean, I have friends who have done it, and I think it's something to do like maybe early.
Yeah.
Because I think it can become a lot.
It can become a lot.
From what I've heard.
It can suck you in.
But
and
it
you
sounds
never
like
escape.
if it's with the right group of people and in the right, like, how much fun. Oh my God. Was it amazing?
It was amazing. I did it
Yeah.
right after college, which was
Yeah.
great timing. We saved some money, and it was with my 3 best friends. So
That's
I have a whole, if we want to talk about
Incredible.
the cruise ship experience, we'll have to sit down at another time, Sam, because it's fascinating.
I bet.
The reason I bring that up is because I'm someone who considers myself someone who loves, like a vocalist, someone who loves
Yeah.
to sing,
Yeah.
and an arranger, someone who loves kind of music directing and arranging. But sometimes the actual performative components and being on camera, some of that stuff I'm not as comfortable with. So what was it like as someone who really, their gift was their voice, sort of transitioning to like an on-camera actor?
Yeah. So growing up and even throughout college before sort of this YouTube pop stuff happened, my plan was to do musical theater. That's why I was going to move to New York after college and I was going to audition and do that. So I definitely have always loved the kind of like performative element in addition to the actual vocalizing, but definitely doing it for screen and on camera is a very different thing. And I think one of the reasons that I'm loving now with this new album, we just had some shows. We did a show in LA and a show in San Francisco and are going to tour more this year, is that it's like getting back to that. I do love being in a room with people, making music live and actually performing this stuff, because YouTube, while amazing and it has like this incredible global reach that is like unprecedented and it makes it crazy, it can be a little... you're constantly creating this stuff and then just sending it out. And you really do make friendships and gain connections with fans across very long distances. And there's something really magical about that. But I do love and live for like live performance and stuff. So yeah. But I do think that there's definitely correlation between that. I think I try to, in the videos and in music videos, I try to give it that same kind of
urgency,
energy and urgency and storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, it's all there. It's just, it must have been interesting, especially as someone who wanted to be a theatrical performer. On-camera stuff is different. These really
my
tight
God.
close-ups.
It's totally different. I think early on, the lesson I had to learn was like, scale it back. You'll notice that even in Trust, I'm like, in some of those performance shots, I'm like whereas if I had shot that like a few years ago, I would have been like,
it's hard.
Making some crazy faces
Definitely.
that are not so cute.
A different art. Well, it's been fun. It's been fun to watch you sort of transition
Thank
from just, vocalist to real kind of on-screen star.
Thank you.
Okay, so I do want to talk about why you're here today, which is, of course, your new stuff, this new album, Trust. Can you take us through just the journey of producing the album, well, co-producing, but it sounds like you've had your hands more on different facets of this album more than ever.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear you talk about it.
Totally, for sure. I mean, the lead single is called Trust, but sort of one of the more meta reasons why I chose that as the name of the album is that, like I said, being an independent artist and someone who's doing a lot of this myself, there is a huge level of like scariness to putting out content for people to consume and love or hate or judge, and especially when it's I'm producing a lot of it, I wrote all of it, and I think one of the messages of that I want to impart to my fans through this album and through all my stuff is that trusting yourself artistically is super important, because there's so much second guessing that happens for a creative person who's also thoughtful and critical. And so
Studied classical Greek in college.
so for a lot of these songs, like there have been like 6 different versions of them. I wrote, the oldest song is like 3 or 4 years old that's on the album, and I like wrote it, loved it, but then just like kept picking away at it, and it's like, oh, it's not good enough. It doesn't sound, now it doesn't sound current because I've sat on it for too long. And so putting out this album finally was like, you know, I'm going to trust myself, and I'm going to trust that what I have to say and this music is important, and that the people who love my music and what I do are going to find something in it that means something to them. So that's kind of the why I liked Trust as an album title.
But you just got married too, so I'm sure
Yeah.
that's kind of a part of it as well.
Totally. Although a lot of the songs on the album are about like tumultuous, dark relationships, which are inspired. You know, it
happens.
It happens. Yeah, maybe I need to do some more love songs on the next one to satisfy that. But yeah, so like all the songs, you know, some are old, some are new, and it's been in the works for a while. But the vibe is, a lot of it is like Trust the song. It's super synthy 80s, like syncopated. I'm a sucker for like syncopated rhymes and cool stuff, and I'm loving the 80s sort of comeback. that's
Yeah,
going
it's
on.
in right now. I sort of hear references to The Weeknd, like I mentioned, which is
Totally.
cool. And any other, like, who are your sort of go-to pop icons, sort of working in more like traditional radio? Like, I kind of hear some Charlie Puth in there. would you say?
Totally.
Yeah.
All the people who've come up like Charlie, who are great writers and producers themselves, where you can hear just like a good song behind.
Yes.
Because, you know, there's great producers out there right now, but it really moves me when it's great production, but also just a great song, and then of course a great vocalist. I mean, like, me and like every other gay in the world, I love Carly Rae Jepsen's album
yeah.
Emotion. You know what I mean? I think there's a little bit of that in this. And yeah, you know, great vocalist too. Like,
Yeah.
I give me an Ariana Grande track any day, because coming from a place of just like appreciating good vocals, like me and my a cappella group, the Dukes Men, would sit around in college and just like send each other like amazing vocal performances, you know, and we just got a kick out of like hearing just like excellence.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm definitely more compelled by artists who have Bruno Mars, you know, who have
Right.
like
Talent.
at their heart a great voice
Yeah.
and something you just want to hear them singing.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think we are in a time when like vocal talent isn't necessarily an antecedent to
Right.
success.
For sure.
Like,
Definitely not. Yeah.
because of the production capabilities that we have. So it does feel so refreshing when you like listen to a pop star and you're like, great writer, great performer, but like good singer.
Yeah.
Because like I don't feel like those intersect enough.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's why I love doing live shows too, because I think that, and going to live shows, because that's where you really can sort of tell how much of it is real.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of, we just mentioned your marriage again. Congratulations!
Thank
That's so
you.
exciting.
Thank you.
I feel like you've handled your personal life in a very classy way. First of all,
I'm
what's
a classy guy.
You are, but what is it like to like become famous and just in general deal with people being not only obsessed with your artistry, but like obsessed with like you?
Yeah, I mean, it not only that, but in an age where social media has added this really interesting component to that.
And that's true. I bet fans push you to have the extra responsibility, like because you're a YouTube star.
Totally.
Like they want you to be, you know, you didn't get famous through a traditional platform, so I'm sure fans sort of demand an added level of intimacy from you. or-
and it's something that I want to provide, because again, I think, you know, the fans are signing up for the music, of course, and that's at the heart of everything. But they're also, because in this day and age of the way that the digital music works, there's such a give and take. And the only reason that I'm able to put out these albums and tour is because, you know, because I don't have a record label backing it. It's really because fans are listening and sharing.
Cool.
And so it's not just a responsibility I feel. There really is one there to have them be part of the journey, and that includes not just the music, but this damn ring,
and that damn ring.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, so it's something that I think is important. And so whenever people are like, I don't want to let people in, I get that, and that's definitely sometimes an instinct of like, I didn't sign on to be, you know, like a person. I just want to make music. But I think it is important, and I think, you know, one of the things that digital platforms has allowed is for people to become famous and get followings who traditional media wouldn't have done so. So I feel an extra responsibility as, you know, a gay artist, as an Asian pop artist.
Yeah.
These things that are categories that you don't see a lot of in traditional media.
Right.
So I feel that by being accessible and by sharing my story and letting people see not only my music, but a little bit about what my life is and that process, I do feel that that's important for people out there who are hungry for people in the public eye that look like them or are like them in some way. And
Representation. You know?
Absolutely. It's I know that's like a buzzword, representation, but it is so important. And to be a part of that in some way, which a lot of YouTubers are, because the digital space has just given voice. That's one of the greatest things about it, is that it's given voice to kind of disenfranchised groups and given visibility in a positive way.
What it shows to me is that, like, for so long, like, white producers and executives like didn't believe that representation was not only important but like financially viable.
Totally.
And that's like right now Black Panther is the highest grossing movie of like
So
the
good,
same
by
thing
the way.
happened
It's
with
so good.
so
Black
good.
Panther's so good.
Wakanda Forever. I don't know if
Oh
I'm allowed
my
to say that or not,
God,
but also Get Out last year. I just think it's funny because like time and time again, artists like you and like these movies are proving that like they're not only like culturally important but like very financially viable.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
right. Like there are so few Asian American pop musicians out there, and yet like I've such incredible fans in Asia, and when I go to shows, there's so many Asian Americans in the audience, and it's like this is a huge audience of people who love music and love pop music, and just why aren't more people in positions of power taking risks? And it's not even a risk, you know what I mean?
The thing is, it's not. Yeah.
Gosh, it's so crazy to me, and I think that's why there are a lot of Asian Americans who have gotten success on YouTube, a lot of LGBT creators, and like it's not surprising. Like, of course, the people want to see
It's
that.
so cool. The thing I like about YouTube and social media in general is like it is very democratic. So it's like we are getting a very unfiltered look at what people want.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. That's why we're seeing that stuff. I'm watching the show on Showtime now called The Shy. Have you heard of this show?
I have not seen it, but yeah, I know.
Really,
Lena
really
Waithe.
good. It's Lena Waithe, yeah. And I got to interview her, which was pretty cool.
Really
She's
cool.
the best. And she was talking, and this wasn't with me, but she was doing an interview, I think, with the Chicago Tribune or something. And she mentioned that, like, media's at the point right now where even straight white males are bored of seeing straight white males on TV. So it's like, even people like me, the disenfranchised straight, we want to see not ourselves. Like, we've seen ourselves for too long. So
Totally, and there's so
wanna
many
have
interesting
options.
stories to be told that you've just never seen. That's why, like Black Panther, you're like, you're just seeing stories being told that you didn't get to ever see before in a front and center way,
Right.
Which is so empowering and so important and like long overdue.
Definitely. So speaking of, like, obviously you now have this platform. What's it been like to sort of take responsibility over, like, just having, like, viewpoints and comments and statements on, like, political issues that are sort of happening around you all the
Totally.
time?
I mean, it's always a balance between, because in this day and age there's kind of this crazy expectation whenever there's some contentious political thing, like, oh, you have to say something or you just have to have your voice heard to do it, and that you don't want to do that, of course, because that's empty. But yeah, when it's something that matters, of course, that there is a power, and with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
That I think it's all about intent and making sure it's never just saying something for the sake of what it'll look like or what it'll sound like.
If I may, like, as an extension of that, I would love to sort of hear your take on Florida, what happened recently, because I was a huge Christina Grimmie fan. Of
course.
And you're someone who's been really immediately touched by gun violence. So I'd kind of just love to hear your sort of personal feelings on sort of what just happened and maybe sort of where you stand on it.
Of course. I mean, I got to collaborate with Christina, and she was a friend, and
just so talented.
so oh my
Her
gosh,
voice was electric. Like, people use that word, but like I literally feel like there was an electricity.
like
in
we
her
were
voice.
saying, appreciating great vocals. She was one of the people. The moment I heard her, I was like, this is and God, when that happened, it was, all of these are so extra horrible because they are taking place in spaces that should be safe and should be sacred. Schools, concerts, these are
Theaters.
places. Yeah, these are places of creation and connection and positivity. So it is just especially gut-wrenching that so many of these stories we're hearing of gun violence are taking place in these spaces where is the last place you ever want to hear something like that happening. But yeah, it's a hard issue. Obviously, I grew up in a space and an area and a cultural milieu where I never was near a gun. I have no desire to hunt or do any of this stuff. So I understand that there are different cultural viewpoints on this for sure, and you have to respect that with any political debate. But something needs to be done. I mean, obviously we are hearing too many stories of this happening, and just sort of sending, conciliatory tweets and stuff is not enough. Real legislative action needs to happen for sure. I'm 100%.
I will say there is this feeling, at least from my perspective, that this one feels a little different. I don't know. I can only hope. If you want to make an analogous reference, it kind of feels like Me Too happening in Hollywood. It feels like there's actually some tangible change happening, and we can only hope that right now, like, it's no longer it's just pro people not being killed. Like,
absolutely. I'm hoping that we're seeing a trend toward movements that have a power, know, and that's one of the exciting things I think about the past year amidst all the craziness is that I think a lot of groups are emboldened and empowered to actually make their voice heard in a real way. And so I'm hopeful that all these young kids and these students, it's really incredibly moving, and it gives one hope, that hopefully this time will be different and that something real can come of it. So I'm certainly hopeful for that.
Yeah, I am too. We can get a little lighter now. I just sort of wanted... one thing I do like to do is like a speed round.
Let's do it.
Okay, so these are just first thing that comes to your head.
Oh boy.
Favorite vocal YouTuber I have not heard of.
That you have not heard of. Oh my God.
Or maybe I have, but just so more underground.
She's not underground, but I love like Kina. Do you know Kina Granis?
I don't know Kina.
You don't know Kina?
I don't. I know Shame on Me. That's probably
bad.
Oh
my God. I've done a few things with her. She has she's a great writer and has this gorgeous Kina Granis.
Okay.
Look her up.
Great.
Oh my God. I'm so
She's
glad.
amazing.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Our producer's a fan. Amazing. Cool.
Oh my God. Well, okay. I'm glad that I actually met the task and provided you with a new person to listen to. Kina Granis. Listen to her.
Will do. Okay. Also, your favorite acapella right now? I don't know if you're much of an acapella listener, but it could be Pentatonics. It could be someone I haven't heard of.
Can I take the basic answer and say Pentatonics? I love those guys.
Oh yeah, they're so good.
Of course. Also, though, my husband Casey sang for a long time with a group called Chanticleer.
Oh, I know Chanticleer.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
cool.
he was up in the Bay for a long time singing with them, and that's like a whole different thing. But I appreciate like good like ensemble choral ensemble singing too. So if you haven't heard of Chanticleer, check them out as well.
Definitely check them out. It's cool. They are an all male SATV group, which is like very very cool.
Yeah, Casey, my husband was an alto.
Oh, good for him. That's cool. Nice. I'm a big Chanticleer fan.
Nice.
So okay, for you right now, in terms of pop, like, so I've got a buddy who is a vocal performance major at UCLA right now, and to him, the best vocalist on radio right now is Tori Kelly. Like, she's so slept on. Yeah. Everyone says the best vocalist is Beyonce or Mariah, but like in terms of like precision and tasteful riffs, like it's Tori Kelly. Do you have like a slept on vocalist that you feel like people just should be hailing as the best?
That's a really, really great question. I mean, Tori's good. I mean, she's not slept on, but like I was saying, like Ariana, Jessie J. Because everyone knows her, but I think she still is slept on. Like, she's in a Chinese reality show right now. We need more Jessie J. She is.
What?
You know what I mean? She's doing like all this weird stuff. Bless her. I'm obsessed with her.
Oh yeah, she's kind of weird.
So
though.
I need her to have a hit like now.
Yeah.
Because if there's literally after this interview, go watch. She's on a Chinese singing competition show called Singer.
Okay. Very creative name.
Yeah, and she is doing these live performances that are like mind blowing. The first week she did you'll like it. It's like a kind of rearranged, reharmed a little bit toward the end version of Domino that is like out of this world.
I love Domino.
She can do no wrong. So even though she's relatively well known, I think like she needs a hit.
Well, yeah, she's well known, but I feel like people acknowledge her as like an artist and like a decision maker, but I feel like people don't credit her vocals enough. So it's a good answer. I like it.
Okay, good.
If you were the Academy for the Oscars coming up this Sunday, what would be your best picture? And it doesn't even have to be a nominee. It can be anything else from last year.
I mean, Call Me by Your Name is amazing. It's a little indie, a little underground. I love Shape of Water. I don't know. Oh gosh, what? I'm gonna say Call Me by Your Name.
Great.
Gay representation.
Absolutely. It's a great movie. Very beautifully shot. Speaking of cinematography as well. Who would be your dream collaboration?
Ooh. I think
Ariana.
to go more classic and iconic, I would have to say Celine.
Yeah.
That's like a since little childhood I have wanted to be Celine Dion. So because she is someone who not only has incredible vocals and but has like sustained, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people who are great vocalists have like a money 5 years where they sound great and then just through like vocal misuse or whatever, like just can't really deliver. And she is still, I saw her in Vegas a couple times and like, oh my God, you know, it's amazing. And so I would love to someday sing a duet with Celine Dion.
I feel like she's, from what I'm sensing, you're married to a guy from Chanticleer. You respect the pop as much as like the craft and like the
Yeah.
action. So it's, I feel like she's a nice synthesis of
Yes.
sort of those two things.
100%.
And finally, if you could have lunch with anyone living or dead,
Oh gosh.
Homer,
Let's bring it full
probably.
circle. Are you kidding me? I was literally gonna say I would have to. Yeah, if I truly had that opportunity, I would have to go ancient. I
Yeah.
want to know. I want to know some stuff.
do you think you'd go like Homer, like Sophocles, or like?
Well, so they don't even know if Homer's a real person.
Oh,
Homer
really?
might be a mythical, like they think that maybe like the Iliad and the Odyssey were like maybe just composed by either different people in the epic tradition, and then like Homer is just this like
Shakespeare.
mythical amalgamation that's like not actually a real dude. So I would go like Euripides or like an actual guy who existed, who is like a great playwright in Athens. I sound so lame right now.
No,
Oh my God,
I asked.
I'm just gonna shut up.
I was an English major, so I'm like,
Nice.
yeah, I'm
yes.
vibing.
Yes.
Cool. Well, this has been super fun, Sam.
Thank you for
I appreciate
having
it.
me.
It was great. Yeah.
Hey, I had a blast.
Good. I hope so. It's just fun to nerd out with a fellow like
Yes.
acapella guy.
Yes.
Okay, so Trust is already out.
The whole album is out, but there's a lot of sort of music videos coming because obviously people know me for the YouTube platform. So I'm gonna try to do as many videos for the individual tracks as we can manage.
Great.
And yeah, there's gonna be some cool stuff.
Tours and appearances coming up at all?
Yeah, there's going to be some East Coast shows coming up in the next few months. We did some album release shows in LA and San Francisco, which were awesome. Thank
Great.
you for all those fans who came out to those. And yeah, definitely now that the album is out finally, it's touring is on my mind. So that's going to be happening later this year.
And anything else, not even musically, anything you want to let us know about?
Oh, just like follow me on Instagram and all this stuff because I don't just do, I cook, I do, me and my husband Casey, we get up to all sorts of crazy shenanigans. So yeah, if you love the music, great. But if you want a little more, see what I'm up to.
Well, Sam, thanks again. I really do think you have one of the best voices working in music today.
Oh my
And-
gosh.
Yeah.
That's
And
not true, but thank you.
No,
I
it
appreciate
really is. I think you are you balance flair with taste. I think
Thank
you
you.
get too many vocalists who, at least in my opinion, don't like sing tastefully.
But going back, one of the worst things about YouTube is that all your worst and best is that as a creator who's done a lot of stuff, all your videos like live on forever.
Yeah.
And like you'll go to a video from 2010 and see that there's a comment from like 2 minutes ago, and you're like, oh my God, people are still watching this. And some of my early videos, I think my taste has improved.
Yeah.
I think in the earlier videos, especially coming from that acapella culture, I was like, let me do the craziest riff and the highest thing I can do, and people will love that.
Polyrhythms.
Yeah. So I think my taste has improved.
Well,
But
the
thank
fun
you.
thing is, as viewers, we can watch you develop
Yeah.
in real time as
Exactly,
an artist. So
exactly.
it's all a part of the journey,
Yes,
Sam. It's all
yes,
part of the
it
journey.
is.
Well, thanks again, guys. This has been Spotlight On with AfterBuzz TV. Again, a series where we interview directors, creators, musicians, writers, any above-the-line talents in Hollywood. So keep tuning in. We're here almost every day. Guys, my name is Jeff. If you're interested in me, obviously Sam is here, incredibly talented, but I do host a show on Fridays called The Unproduced Table Read on our sister network Popcorn Talk, where we table read unproduced award-winning scripts with a group of professional actors and interview their writers. So that's Fridays at 10 a.m. Check that out. And yeah, this has been Spotlight On. Sam, one more time, where can they find you?
YouTube, Sam Tsui Music, and all over on socials. Just search my name.
All right, well, Sam, we can't wait to see what you do next. In the meantime, guys, we'll see you next time here on Spotlight On.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.